the top handbag trends for autumn 2025. Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kira and I'm your resident style solutionist. I share videos on shopping for the best basics on the high street, how to build a capsule wardrobe, and lots of fun trend videos. So if that sounds good to you, then do hit subscribe because I would love to have you back for more videos. So in today's video, we are doing one of my favorite trend roundup videos, and that is the top handbag trends for autumn 2025. We're going to be looking at all of the different styles, shapes, sizes, and fabrics that are set to be huge for the next few months and beyond. As always, I will leave links to everything that I mentioned right down in the description below. I have also done some very handy shopping edits. So if any of these trends take your fancy, you will see some shoppable edits here on screen for my top picks for that particular trend. And as always, I have some very good discount codes for you today, which will all be linked in the description below. And so without rambling on too much, let's kick things off with the first big trend that we are going to be seeing for autumn 2025 for handbags, and that is the slouchy bag. So yes, slouchy, pillowy, squishy bags are such big news for autumn, and it is probably the biggest newer trend that we are seeing for autumn, because in this video you will see some trends that have been circulating for maybe the past year. The trend cycle with handbags and accessories tends to move a little bit slower than with clothing, but one thing that we have seen very much emerging as a newer trend is the slouchy, pillowy, squishy handbag. Think the squishy fold over clutches, worn chucked under the arm. There's something very nonchalant, very relaxed, but ultimately very chic and stylish about these bags. I particularly love the really squishy foldable styles. I have a few in my wardrobe already. I actually have one from Flattered that I love. I find them really easy to style because they offer this really slouchy texture or slouchy shape to your outfit. So I think they look particularly good, let's say worn with a pair of denim jeans, like kind of a casual outfit, and then you're adding this slouchy bag, or you can use them to juxtapose against, let's say, a tailored fitted suit, something with a strong shoulder, a nipped in waist, and then you're doing an oversized slouchy clutch. I just think it's so chic. Yes, there are many versions of these slouchy clutches on the high street. I will have some of my favorites linked in the description below, but I do think that you can also restyle the bags that you already have in this way. So let's say, for example, if you have a tote, if you have a larger tote, a big bowling bag, you can easily fold down the handles and wear it like a slouchy clutch. So don't be afraid to restyle the pieces in your wardrobe. It's one of my favorite things about these trend videos, is giving you guys ideas for how to restyle what you already have. But having said that, for my next trend, I actually have the most stunning example of handbag to show you. Trend number 2 is suede fabrics, and this is arguably the most dominant trend in handbags that we have seen. It emerged on the runways, I would say nearly 2 years ago now. It hit the high street with a bang and it is going nowhere. Suede bags really are the most kind of updated, trendy and sought after handbags that we're seeing right now. And so many labels, especially the designer labels, do really gorgeous suede styles, but my goodness, they are expensive. Especially suede as a fabric can run a little bit more expensive. So I think it's great to find more affordable, achievable luxury bags where you can. In today's video, I have a really good example for you. So this is the most beautiful suede bag. This is the Gabriel bag in the 38 size by the brand Parisa Wang. And if you haven't heard about them, they are a gorgeous mid-range or mid-luxe handbag brand. I've featured them on this channel so many times before. I have so many of their handbag styles that I love, and you guys seem to love them as well because they offer such amazing craftsmanship and quality, but for a fraction of the high-end luxury labels that we often see. So this bag immediately reminds me of the coveted the Row Margot handbag. It has its own stylistic differences. The shape is very similar, but it has its own kind of thing going on. But the difference in price is absolutely massive. The Rose Margot bag retails for 7,000 euros and up, and that's if you can get your hands on it, because I know ever since it launched last year, it was a sellout and it sold out everywhere. I think it's great that brands like Parisa Wang are offering the same type of beautiful suede fabric in that really luxe texture and all of the really key stylistic details, but at a much more affordable price as well. 38 size is going to fit honestly, every size of laptop, you can fit the biggest size in here. And it has these really handy compartments here on each side. They close with a magnetic flap. So you open it up and you have a very large chamber. Again, this bag fits so much. So it is just a large chamber bag, but I find I'm someone who has a lot of pouches on the go anyway. So I don't mind if my bag doesn't have loads of organization on the inside, especially when I want something I can chuck everything in. It also has this beautiful little lock detail here. And one thing that I really love about bags, especially a suede bag, is that it has feet. So when you put this bag down on the ground, you're not putting the suede directly on the ground. It has a really sturdy adjustable crossbody strap. I always say if you want to put the bag in sport mode, a strap is super handy. So you can see you have these clips here on either side. So it's very sturdy. This is such a good handbag for work, for day to day. I actually do have the Gabrielle in the 35. This is the size difference. Again, this is the 35, this is the 38. You are going to fit a very small laptop in here, definitely an iPad, but you're going to fit actual larger laptop sizes in here, no problem. They're very similar. They both have all the same stylistic details. They have the same shape, the same kind of type of drop on the handle, but obviously the 38 is your hold all. This bag also comes in the most beautiful leather, which is absolutely gorgeous. So if you didn't want to go for a suede, you can go for the leather as well. But I will mention, I always recommend this. I will link in the description below my suede protector spray. It's not mine, but it's the one that I pick up from Amazon. It's super affordable. It is so good to use on your handbags or any suede material you have in general. I'll link that below, and I always spray my handbags and then I don't have any issues with them, which is great. So definitely suede handbags is arguably the biggest trend across the board for handbags. It is definitely the most sought after style. So if you're looking for something that is that gorgeous, quiet luxury, that's practical, functional, stylish, but is a very attainable price for such a beautiful, well-made bag, then I will link this style in the description below. And I'm so delighted because Parisa Wang have once again reinstated my discount. It is so handy. It gives you 12% off. I will leave it here on screen and also in the description below. So be sure and check that out. They have lots of other very on-trend styles, so I would highly recommend checking them out. So moving on, the next handbag trend we're going to talk about is the East-West style. And I think that along with suede fabrics, the East-West style is right up there with the biggest trend at the moment. It is definitely one of the newer shapes of bags that has emerged in the last few years that I feel like is really taking over, and it's all over the high street, it's all over the designer catwalks, and it's a style that I personally absolutely love. I feel like East-West styles of handbags, they're kind of vintage inspired. They obviously have that long chamber. Some of them have a top handle, but most of them actually have a long strap, kind of like an elongated strap, which I think really leans into that vintage style. And I have a few East-West styles in my wardrobe now that I absolutely love, and they get worn so much. One of them is the Parisa Wang East-West bag. I have that in kind of the warm brown suede. Absolutely gorgeous, so practical. I have the verified East-West bag in the leather. It's so great. That bag can be worn multiple ways. I just think there's something about the East-West style that is so chic. I feel like the long drop on the strap makes it a bag that's quite dressed down, meaning you can wear it with your jeans, jumpers, knitwear, you know, your casual stuff in autumn. However, if you are dressing it up and you want to throw it on, even with a dress, even with a pair of tailored trousers, a suit, there's something about that long East-West chamber that makes it feel very much like a clutch and gives it that bit of elegance. So I think it's one of the true hybrids between dressy and casual, and I honestly feel like it kind of staggers both. So if you're looking for a versatile style of bag, the East-West style, cannot recommend it enough. So next up in handbag trends, we're going to talk about the biggest color that is so popular with handbags, and there is no prizes for guessing it. It is of course brown. The brown handbag is reigning supreme right now, whether it is a leather, whether it's a suede, whether it's a fabric, canvas, cotton. Brown shades are completely dominant on the high streets, on the catwalks, and to be fair, I do think it's a fantastic colour to go for. It's extremely versatile, and I always say with brown that it is very easy to style. It's a little bit more exciting than black. It kind of offers a little bit more interest, but it is still just as neutral, and I feel like with browns you can style them easily with your lighter colours. They're going to go super well with creams, beiges, whites, but then brown also works really well with darker colours, with navies, with blacks, with dark greys. I just think it's kind of an all-rounder. There are so many different versions of brown bags on the high street, whatever size, shape you're looking for. And obviously the dominant fabric that we're seeing is of course brown suede. I really like other colors of suede as well, not just brown. I think you can get some gorgeous beige suedes. We're even seeing some blue suedes, which I'm absolutely loving, some deep burgundies. But again, brown is that color that we're seeing so much. I have quite a few brown handbags in my wardrobe now, and I wear them so much. They're just extremely easy to style. As I said, they're so versatile. And when it comes to investing in handbags, especially if you're going to the kind of mid-range price point, I do feel like getting those neutral colors makes so much sense. Okay, so moving on, we're going to talk about a bit more of a trendier trend and something that is a little bit different, and it is fringed bags. Now, while this might not be the most wearable of handbag trends, it is one of the biggest emerging trends nonetheless. We saw this creeping in during the summertime, and it is only building in momentum for autumn winter. This can be done in so many ways. You can have smaller fringe trims on handbags. You can have kind of trim tassel fringe details. You can have chunkier fringe. Let's say, for example, fringed suede being a super popular way of doing this trend. It's very trendy, as I said. It's a little bit kind of harder to style. I think you kind of maybe want to be more of a fashion girl and a little bit more of a maximalist to dive into this, but it is nonetheless a very fun trend that we're seeing. I have seen ways that this has been done really, really well, not just with suede fringe, which is super cool. I would love to pick up like a hobo style bag with that fringing trim on the bottom. I think that's so cool. But also I have seen like tassel fringing on bags. So for example, pouches or clutches with top handles that have that kind of satin fringe. You know those like fringe strings? They're a little bit more elegant, a little bit more vintage inspired, and actually I think that's a great way of doing fringe coming into the party season. You know those handbags with the drop fringe? They're so fun, like not the most practical considering you have to hold them up high because they have like half a meter of fringe, but I think that that is so quirky, so interesting, so fun, perfect for an occasion where you really want like a conversation piece. But again, maybe not the most practical of trends, but we're here to talk about all the trends. So do let me know, are fringed bags something that you would wear? Do you like the sound of it, whether it's suede fringe, fringe tassels? Let me know what you think. Moving on, we're going to go back to a more practical handbag trend, and that is the bowling bag. So bowling bags are very much a shape of handbag, and we saw them first, I believe it was on the runways of Miu Miu, Prada. They were bringing down so many gorgeous bowling bags in leather, in suede. We were also seeing the bowling bags with the smaller bowling bag charms attached to it, which was super fun. But in general, the bowling bag style is very, very practical. It's basically like a tote, but it's in that more kind of robust closed shape on the top. And actually the Gabrielle bag that I just showed you is a perfect example of a bowling bag style. It has all of the elements of a tote, but rather having that really open top, which sometimes can be impractical. You've got that nice closed bowling bag style. They're also sometimes called like doctor's bags, but I do think it's a trend or shape of handbag that is very, very practical. So it's definitely something I would embrace. I actually have one or two bowling bags in leather finishes, and then I obviously have my suede version, which you've seen, and I find them super, super practical. So moving on, I mentioned this in my previous trend, but the handbag charms and the mini bags are very much a trend in and of themselves. So I'm including them in this list. So it's not just handbag charms and those kind of attachable charms that you're seeing. Not only have the luxury houses released them, you can see some very expensive and very luxurious handbag charms from the likes of Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, but lots of mid-range brands have their own types of handbag charms as well. I would say one of my favorites is probably Songmont. They have some really beautiful kind of natural bag charms. They're in these like natural finishes. They have these really cool kind of wooden beads. They have like gemstones. With a lot of the Songmont charms, they kind of have good luck messages attached to them, and they're all about symbolism, which I think is really, really cool. But again, you can find handbag charms all over the high street. I also highly recommend DIYing them yourself, because you might have pieces of, let's say, jewelry, key rings, mementos that you picked up on holidays, even like broken pieces of jewelry that you can fashion into these charms. So I highly, highly recommend doing a little DIY. You can take inspiration from the likes of Jane Birkin, who obviously popularized and really coined this trend. She used to do this with her handbags decades ago. It was so unique to her. And now obviously it's been popularized on the high street, but I think this is done in the best way when it's actually very, very personal and actually kind of done in a DIY way. Now, the second part of this trend, I did mention it, is the mini bags, and they're kind of like charms in and of themselves, but it's basically a very small bag, probably an impractical bag. I mean, we're talking something that's not much bigger than an AirPods case that is attached onto your bag. We've seen this from the likes of Fendi. They have their baguettes and then their mini baguettes. We've seen it from Miu Miu. They have their bowling bags and then their mini bowling bags. We've seen it from Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and I just think it's so quirky. Again, it's so full of personality. It can also be very practical, because if you're someone who, like me, has your AirPods case, or you have a little pouch that has like your bits that you need to grab, you can attach it to the outside of the bag. You can have a coin pouch. I have a gorgeous little coin pouch that I picked up from Cezanne that I absolutely love. It's like this beautiful deep burgundy color. I'll link below, and it's really handy, and I often attach it on the outside of my bags, and I just think it looks so cute. So moving on, another big trend for autumn 2025 is studs and studded details. And again, this is a trend that we saw kind of creeping in throughout the summer, but it's really ramped up for autumn winter. I think because so much of the fabrics we see in autumn winter are heavier fabrics, leathers, and I feel like it lends itself so well to this detail. We're seeing a lot of completely studded bags, either with those kind of flat pin studs, which seems to be the most popular way that we're seeing this. I've seen some really great versions on the high street, and I would say if you're doing a trend like this, I would probably go on the high street, because again, studded bags are a bit more trendy. They're not something that's going to go with every single outfit, especially if you're going for, let's say, your silver or gold studs. You know, it's quite eye-catching. So I would recommend, if you want to play with this trend, I would probably go for a high street version. It's going to be a bit safer than investing in, you know, a mid-range brand or a luxury brand and then being a bit limited in how you can style it. But we are seeing so much of these stud details, and I think it looks so cool. We've seen like studded slouchy clutches, studded kind of shoulder hobo bags. I feel like this stud trend really touches on the maximalism trend. So if you're kind of about that and you want to inject more personality and fun and edginess into your outfits, then I think this would work super well. And of course, you know, it's no surprise that it's very much wrapped up in the punk and grunge trend that we're seeing, which again is, I know, not so much a trend as it is a lifestyle for people, but we really are seeing those elements throughout our clothing, throughout our accessories in particular, and throughout our kind of hardware. So we're seeing things like chunkier hardware on bags. We're seeing locks, padlocks, studs. Brands like Chloe have their iconic padlock bag. I think it was called the Paddington bag, which is now having this huge resurgence in popularity. You can still try and snap it up on the reseller sites if you can, and I imagine they're going to re-release it, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of those stud details. And if I can make a prediction, do you remember the Alexander Wang studded bag? It was the like slouchy top handle bag with the studs at the bottom. I think that's going to make a resurgence. I think people are going to start to buy that on resale sites. I must actually check and see if it's online. I'm so into vintage and like old editions of handbags. It's obviously a passion subject of mine. I'm going to check now and see what they're going for and see if I can snap up one for a bargain. But anyway, I see this as being a trend that is of course a bit more maximalist, but I don't see it going anywhere. I see it just building in popularity as we come into, let's say, the party season. I think we'll be seeing a lot more stud details with our party bags. So speaking of maximalism, another huge trend that we are seeing in our handbags is animal print. This has been trickling in for honestly the past year. We did start to see it more in the summer, but like a lot of these trends, as we come into autumn winter, it's really ramping up. Textures in handbags are one of my favorite ways to add interest to an outfit. So looking at animal print, it's not just, you know, your leopard print, and of course leopard print is a big part of this. We saw a lot of leopard print last year, but this year it's not just leopard. We're looking at zebra print, we're looking at giraffe, we're looking at Dalmatian, we're even looking at cow print, but also we are looking at snake skin. And I think personally snake skin is my favorite way of doing animal print in a handbag. I really feel like snake print is the easiest of the animal prints to style. I also feel like its colors in general are really neutral. So it's a lot of browns, blacks, and kind of caramel colors, and you can do that kind of lighter, more neutral snakeskin, or you can do the deeper snakeskin, and I just love it. I have a pair of like ankle boots in snakeskin and they're so fun to style, and then I also have a gorgeous little box clutch handbag in like a darker snake print, and while I don't necessarily wear them together, I feel like one or the other adds this really fun pop of print and texture to an outfit, and sometimes that kind of animal print is just what an outfit needs. And of course it doesn't have to be snake print. I mean, we're seeing things like horsehair, like cow print or horsehair, that obviously has huge nods to the Western trend, but we're seeing that so much in our handbags as well. I've seen some really cool cow print horsehair, like slouchy totes. Very, very fun, very cool. And again, a really, really fun way to add interest, texture, fun, and just personality to an outfit. And then following on from this, the very last trend that we're going to talk about in my roundup of handbag trends for 2025 is textured bags. I talk about texture so much when I talk about handbags because I feel like they're such a great way to finish off an outfit. I feel like a different handbag can really change the vibe of an outfit. If you want to make something dressy or if you want to make something more casual, it's just such a big part of it. So texture in general is a huge trend. We're seeing a lot more interesting textures in our handbags, and texture can cover things like studs, like horsehair, all these kinds of things. You can have like croc texture, lots of different things. But what we're also seeing is shearling and faux fur details, especially as we come into the colder months of autumn winter. We're seeing, you know, shearling, teddy details, like Borg style faux fur handbags. I have a really, really fun one from Songmont, and it's in this like deep gray texture, and it's just really, really fun. It has like that squishy, cozy finish to it, and I just find it looks so great with so many outfits, especially when I'm doing cozier weekend looks. I feel like it works so well. So I think texture in general is something we have already been seeing a lot on the runways, on the high street, but I think it's going to be even more popular as we come into the winter months, and probably coming in to 2026 as well. While it is still cold, I think we're going to be seeing these like shearling, horsehair, faux fur, Borg details in our handbags. So there you have it, guys. That is a roundup of all of the biggest handbag trends that we're going to be seeing for autumn 2025. As always, everything that I mentioned will be linked right down in the description below. You'll find all of the handy shoppable edits. You'll also find all the information on my different discount codes as well. Please do let me know which of these trends you love, if there are any that you hate. I love hearing what you guys think of all these different trends. And of course, if you like these kinds of trends roundup videos and you would like to see more, then please do give me a thumbs up to let me know. If you have not already, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every single week, and I would love to have you back for more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next one. Bye!